Congratulations, you have joined another episode of Epic Sketch Time. My name is Mark Monlux. I'll be your host today. I'm a freelance illustrator in Tacoma, Washington. If you'd like to join Epic Sketch Time, sign in to the link below and feel free to join the group. We'll send out notifications every week. And gentlemen, who's with me this week? Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Bill Morse. I'm an illustrator and cartoonist working out of Seattle, Washington, and I also do a webcomic called Rhapsodies.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nguyen. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I'm actually working on a comic book, but that's still working on it. But you can find me anywhere with the handle Mad Monkey Love. That's it. Pretty much it.
Hey everybody, my name is Ian. You can find my stuff over at unfedartist.com. I'm an illustrator, graphic designer, and cartoonist working out of Tempe, Arizona.
Today I'm working on this little gem. Let me show you guys. Are you guys familiar with this person?
That I'm assuming I'm wrong in guessing that it's Igor from Young Frankenstein.
You are wrong.
Okay.
This is from a really bad B-movie called Killers from Space, which probably the first time ping pong eyes were used for an alien dressed up in jumpsuits, homage to Catwoman from the Moon, and giant bushy eyebrows. So that's what I'm going to be working on today, just cleaning up this guy and doing some color work on him. Ian, what are you working on today?
Just next comic to load into my buffer for my website. I finally have my website all up with the comics. I'm trying to do a Tuesday, Thursday release schedule, and see how that goes. But you know, it's fun to get back into it and actually be putting out comics again. And pretty soon I'm going to try doing the marketing thing and seeing if I can drive some traffic to the site. But for right now, I just kind of want to make sure that I'm capable of keeping up with the schedule and all that stuff with everything else I got going on.
Good. That's always the hardest part.
Yeah.
After a while, there's times I convinced it owns me.
I saw Black Klansman this weekend.
The what's what?
The Black Klansman.
Oh, okay. Oh, that one. I saw you liked it on Letterboxd.
Do you guys know what Letterboxd is?
No idea.
Do you know what let's see. Goodreads is?
Goodreads is a social media site for bibliophiles, right?
Right, for books.
Yeah.
Where you rate books, give review of books, create lists of that you like and share all that noise. Well, Letterboxd, which is just how it sounds, except that there's no E at the end, is the same for cinephiles.
All right.
And on my Facebook page, once I watch a movie, I'll go ahead and add it to my diary of what I watched this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And post that onto my Facebook page. right now I'm creating a list on there of all the Japanese films I've seen.
Ah, live, exclusively live action, and the cartoons as well.
I've included both kaiju and the cartoon and the anime, but I'm beginning to wonder if maybe I should have broken those up into different lists, because there's a lot of kaiju and anime on there.
Yeah, I haven't done a new list for a while. I think the last one I was doing was my one on Shakespeare adaptations.
My niece is looking to me. My niece is in her 20s, is looking to me for some guidance on various horror movies to watch, and got me thinking of what would be the absolutely most crucial horror films that a person needs to see.
Hmm.
And
That's interesting, because the guy who does the guy who did Metroplex sort of did a storyline about that, where
you mean Cineplex?
no, I mean I'm pretty sure I mean Multiplex. You know, the
Yeah, Multiplex.
yeah. So I mean,
Oh, that's a Gordon McAlpin.
yeah.
I'll have to go back and see. He had a list.
Not necessarily a list, but it was a story. For all I know, he does have a list, but he was essentially having this one where the main character is deciding that he's not as a big of a snob when he's surprised that there's a horror film that he likes, and so wants to learn about the good stuff. And so for a couple of for about 2 months, we have a storyline where they're doing a weekly demonstration of the good stuff. So the obvious stuff like Psycho and the Universal series. And let's see, based on my Halloween watching, The Haunting, The Frightening, of course. That was awesome.
See, but if I had to reduce it down to a list of, let's say she can only watch one movie a day during the month of October.
Okay.
What would be the crucial ones, the ones that absolutely had to be seen during that 30-day period?
Well, spend 1 week on the Universals, then Black Cat and Onibaba.
See, and Onibaba doesn't cut the list for me.
Really?
No. It's too esoteric.
Okay.
Cat People makes the cut for me. But I would rather move into some 40s horror movies. I mean, you got some 30s horror movies like Vampire. You also have you have some classic movies, silent films like Phantom of the Opera.
Right.
How can you not have a horror movie without showing Lon Chaney?
Right. Oh, and speaking of Lon Chaney, I'm assuming that you'd agree with me that despite the great makeup, Hunchback would not count as horror?
I'm taking it off the list because there's just too much other stuff. And which Hunchback are you talking about? Are you talking about the silent film version, or are you talking about the...
I was talking about the silent film version, but I'm also very fond of the Lawton version.
Yeah, see, I would have to put the Lawton version over that. But instead of doing that, I would prefer showing Island of Lost Souls.
Definitely. And let's see, The Frighteners.
Well, no, I'm not putting The Frighteners on there.
Real? Okay,
I'm putting The Innocents on instead.
Okay.
mean, give her something to watch, like a little bit more fun, like Critter or something.
Well, now we're getting into the 80s. I love practically every 80s horror movie.
I love those. Attack
So
of the
I'm
Killer
trying to,
Tomatoes. You know?
Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead for sure.
Well, I was thinking, yeah, see, here's the quandary. I personally prefer Day of the Dead over Night of the Dead. But Night of the Living Dead is fantastic. I love Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, that me too.
Oh yeah, so
The original, not the
not the remake, but the original, the one that came out in the 80s.
yeah.
So if you have, and here's the thing, you've got movies that repeat that are really good. For example, Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 really good versions of Dracula out there. One of them, of course, being Bela Lugosi. But how do you turn up your nose at the original?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, there's one before Bela Lugosi then?
There's
Nosferatu, the black and white one.
and before Nosferatu, there was Vampire.
Okay.
So, and then there's another Vampire that came out in the 80s that was a take off of Nosferatu that was just dynamite, absolutely wonderful. But no, just a straight up Dracula. There was a Dracula one that came out in 1991 that I really loved. There was a Bram Stoker Dracula. That one was really good. I liked that one a lot. So which ones do you weed out, though, because you've already hit Dracula once?
Mm.
And then do you not include I Walk with the Zombie?
Oh, that's a good one.
Or do you do White Zombie instead?
I go with I Walk with the Zombie. White Zombie is mediocre at best.
What, with Bela Lugosi? No, he did a great job in White Zombie. His character, oh my god, that was great. And the zombies falling into the sugar mill, and oh man, that was creepy.
But I Walk with the Zombie is still better.
So you can see that this debate I've been having. It wasn't until I got into about 2001. So, but you're right. There are some that just are obvious on the list, like Psycho. Psycho has to be on the list from the get-go. But then, 2 years later, Hitchcock came out with The Birds, and The Birds is fantastic too.
Yes.
But do you just limit it to one Alfred Hitchcock movie? If you do, then it has to be Psycho because...
And then definitely Frankenstein, and if not Frankenstein, you have to at least have one whale film on that list.
Well, that's another thing. Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein is, I think, a superior movie, but you have to show the original Frankenstein.
Yeah, because don't get me wrong, I love the Bride of Frankenstein, but these days it doesn't feel like horror to me. I mean, it's a beautiful dark fantasy, but I'm not sure if I'd call it horror. Or am I being too much of a pedant here?
Define pendant.
Pedant.
Yeah, define it for me. It's a $5 word. I don't know what it means.
Somebody who is very, very, very ridiculously precise about his definitions.
Okay, then yes. Let's see. What are some of the suggestions from you guys?
Well, you already shot down 2 of my suggestions.
So the Shining.
Yes, The Shining's on my list.
And then you have like the horror films that kind of are a commentary on horror films, like I Know What You Did Last Summer and the Cabin in the Woods.
But here's the rub. If you show Cabin in the Woods, that means you need to show on the list ahead of that some actual Cabin in the Woods style movie. So you have to have The Evil Dead.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, just as like, you know, in order to really enjoy those types of films, you have to watch horror films that, you know, came before them. So that's part of it. So I mean, if you kind of want to like throw a nice cap onto the month of October or something like that, Cabin in the Woods might be a way to do it. But I mean, so many things are like referencing like the, you know, the huge horror films of back in the day, like you know, The Shining. Like, I mean, there's so many pop culture references to The Shining that, you know, if your niece hasn't seen it, then she's really missing out.
Let's see.
How about some of the more modern Japanese stuff? Ringu, for example.
Ringu is on my list.
Okay.
As is, I'm trying to decide whether we're talking about fun horror. So, another Japanese horror movie was called House.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was an English horror movie, or pardon me, an American horror movie, also called House, but it was making fun of just haunted houses in general. But it's one of those fun ones, one of those comedy type horror movies. And if you're going to have a comedy type horror movie, then of course you have to have Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein.
And what about different levels of comedy? Because, for example, Fearless Vampire Hunters is a lot more horrific than Abbott and Costello, but it's also very funny.
It didn't make the cut.
Okay.
Because when I came back to it, you know, I'm kind of Fearless Vampire Hunters, while it was funny, it wasn't rambunctiously funny enough.
Monster Squad.
Oh, Monster Squad. Thank you very much. I hadn't put that on my list yet.
I always got that mixed up. I've never seen it, but I always get it mixed up with the Saturday morning show that was kind of cashing in on the Batman craze.
You've lost me again, Bill.
Never saw the Saturday morning show Monster Squad? This teenage young scientist creates 3 androids based on Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman, and with them they fight crime along with the fight scenes with the word balloons. Never saw that?
I haven't even heard of that.
I used to love that show. I mean, it's wonderfully awful, but for a 9-year-old kid, it was just brilliant.
And do I include truly awful horror movies as well?
So, when we say awful, are we talking Ed Wood awful or a category I'm not even aware of?
Let's go Ed Wood awful. That's about as awful as you can get.
Uh-huh.
So I was breaking them down at first by decade, and
so I'm sure Letterboxd was coming in very handy with that.
Actually, I haven't even gone on to Letterboxd. This is just straight from my memory.
Ah.
I'm trying to find my list here.
Oh, sorry guys, I gotta take this call.
Okay. Go ahead and mute yourself. Yeah. I see Roger's trying to work his way into the... He's at least listening, if nothing else. Let's see. From the 30s. Okay, so we're talking about the Universal. Here's some... but There's at least 15 movies from the 30s that I absolutely love. There's Dracula, Frankenstein, Vampire, Island of Lost Souls, King Kong. I think King Kong fully falls into the horror category.
Are you sure? Well, maybe this
People fall to their death. They're being eaten. Oh my god. Yeah, I think it falls into a horror movie.
Okay.
Black Cat, Bride of Frankenstein. Okay, The Old Dark House. This is the quintessential beginning of the big haunted house at the end of the road scenario.
Which Black Cat are we talking about? The Vincent Price Poe adaptation?
No, that came in the 40s. This is the 1934 version.
Oh.
Now, while I love it, it's not going to make the final cut.
Not talking the Japanese one here?
No.
Okay.
Then there's Freaks. How do you not put Freaks? You got to put Freaks on the list. That's one creepy movie.
Okay.
Some other ones from the 30s. Mad Love, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, and there's this one movie that a lot of people haven't seen because unless you were watching it on pop-up during TV, it never really got released very wide, and that's a movie called She.
Oh, I know. I'm more familiar with the book than I am of any movie adaptation, but...
And here are some of the ones I have for 1940. The Invisible Man. Oh, pardon me. This is the 1940 version versus the 1933 version. So
this isn't the Whale, and Charles Lawton, not Lawton. So this is a different one than the one I'm thinking of.
I think so. We got the Wolfman.
Claude Rains. I was thinking Claude Rains. Yeah.
Now, there's a movie called The Uninvited, which is this haunted house movie, and it was groundbreaking in the day, but no one even remembers it now because it's tame in comparison to everything that's out. Oh, and The Picture of Dorian Gray. That's another one from the 40s.
Oh, I know.
You know of it, but you haven't seen it.
I know of it, but I'm not sure if I'm aware of a specific adaptation of it. I'm sure I remember seeing an article about a reference to it.
I could, as far as 80s horror movies go, I could just pick one every single day for her. But trying to narrow it down to like a top 100, and then from that top 100 to narrow it down to, just 30. And she's not even going to be able to make 30 viewings because that would mean a movie every day. Who can do that?
Mm-hmm.
Bill, why don't you show us what you're working on?
Okay, yeah. This is for that character design challenge I participate in every now and again.
Yeah, but we're just seeing your face.
Oh, sorry. I didn't even realize. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I'd. Just give me a second here.
I noticed you picked up your new reading glasses. How do you like them?
So far, so good. They have a good resolution. I can see really small print. There was enough range where I can see stuff other than what I'm reading. So I'm pretty happy with them so far. So anyway, as I was saying, this is for a character design challenge that I participate in occasionally. Every month they have a whole lot of professionals do a take on the topic of the month. So last month it was Baroque aristocracy. The month before that, I forget what the month before that was, but they've done everything from cooks, Game of Thrones characters, burlesque dancers. So this month the topic was insect warriors, and this is a fly that I'm liking the look of it so far. But it's I always like it. I always like the challenge of this because we're talking about some really, really kick-ass illustrators, and so you don't go in to win, you go in to create something good enough that you're not embarrassed.
I'm guessing that you wouldn't put Tremors on your list, but I like Tremors as a horror movie.
I have Tremors on the list.
You do? Really?
I do.
Huh.
Underneath several from the 80s. Boy, it's going to be a tough job narrowing things down in the 80s. Because we have such wonderful films like Fright Night, and let's see, there's a, oh man. Pulling them from the 70s was a bit of a task too. I mean, of course you have The Exorcist, but then there's the one that scared the piss out of me when I was a kid was The Hills Have Eyes, the original version.
I'm not sure if I am aware of the original version.
Have you even seen the remake?
No, and I'm trying to remember if the remake is what I'm thinking is the original or not.
Would you like the first one?
Because it was sort of a modern day version of that Scottish clan, wasn't it?
I wouldn't know. That's really good.
You know, what other comedy horror is there?
Oh, there's lots of comedy horror. A recent example would be Slither.
Slither?
Slither is a great comedy horror.
Yeah, that's an awesome movie.
I know the name.
Meteorite lands on Earth. It's got this little thing. They touch it, it goes into them, and they slowly become this big wormy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really funny.
I'm getting it mixed up with the Alligator Men one. Then.
Oh yeah, the Alligator Man is nothing close.
Reanimator, I thought was pretty good.
Reanimator's a pretty good, but it's not as hot. It was done for comedy level.
Right.
So was Dolls, but it's not a really good horror movie.
Right.
Let's see, comedy horror. A lot of the 80s movies were really good comedy horror.
Like,
Fright Night doesn't count as one, does it?
Yeah, I mean, Fright Night was hilarious, but I suppose if you're talking straight up comedy, there is a genre where if everything has to be over the top.
Right.
So, Dead Alive is completely over the top as far as comedy horror goes. So is a movie called Bad Taste. These men have really low quality levels as far as acting. What you watch them for is their sheer outlandishness where you don't know what's happening next. And there was this terrible movie called Blood Diner. And you never know what's going to happen next on this thing. The special effects are kind of hokey. The jokes are bad. The acting's, beyond ham.
How about Motel Hell?
Motel Hell isn't as funny as these others are.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to think. The only ones that pop in my mind are Tremors and the Leslie Nielsen film Repossessed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Or for that matter, that really bad spoof on Dracula that Mel Brooks did with him.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
Dead and
Well, I prefer the older comedy Dracula spoof, Love at First Bite with George Hamilton.
yes, I was about to say that's one of my favorites.
I still like it. I don't think it ages quite as well as it could, but it's
No.
as far as a spoof on the 70s culture.
Now, another comedy horror would be Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
But if we're talking just downright scary, push the children out of the room type things, then Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, that's not for the faint of heart.
I wasn't aware that was even remotely comic.
No, I'm talking about not comic. Okay.
And as far as our definition's concerned, does American Psycho count as a horror?
Yes, I would say American Psycho counts as a horror. It's on my list.
I mean, I wasn't sure. I'm not its biggest fan, but I mean, the first half was more satirical, and then the second half, it just turned into just flat out horror to me.
Then you have sort of like psychological horror movies, like
Seven.
Yeah.
even have you guys ever seen a film called The Tenant from 1976?
I know of it.
Oh man, that gets into your brain like nothing else.
Am I getting it mixed up with the one where they, I think it was a Billy Wilder film, but somebody was a renter that people thought was Jack the Ripper?
You're thinking of something else. This guy is a rent, and it's not the one you're thinking of has. Let's see, who was Richard Lawton in it? And yeah, that's called The Lodger.
Okay.
I knew it'd come to me.
Would American Werewolf in London be something on your list?
Yeah, it's high on my list.
And
Yeah. I love that one.
that's interesting with what we consider a comedy then. I mean, I personally don't consider it a comedy, even though I think it has a great sense of humor, because all of the horror bits are done really, really straight. Are we
still talking about comedy? I thought we were just talking about horror movies in general.
Okay.
How are you proposing that, Locke?
Yeah, I was just one of those. I just want to know if that's one of my favorite horror movies that I just try to watch. You know, it's. I know when I was watching it when I was younger, it was kind of scary at certain scenes and stuff like that. But it was just laugh out loud in certain areas. Just yeah.
I mean, regrettably, I'm a huge fan of it too. I find it does a lot. The bits of it don't age very well because I mean the transformation is amazing. But when we actually see the werewolf out in public, it's pretty much just the model of a werewolf attached to a wheelbarrow. And speaking of speaking of werewolves, is The Howling on your list?
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yes, The Howling. Like I said, there are so many good '80s horror movies like The Fly.
Oh, love that one.
Yeah.
John Carpenter's remake of The Thing. Then there's The Lost Boys, and I don't know if you guys seen it, but The Fog. Now I'm trying to decide whether or not to put Predator on this list. But if you're talking about stuff that's in the culture, Predator has to be on the list, or Poltergeist.
Oh yeah, Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Sure.
Here I am, and I'm stuck having to pick 5 movies from the '80s. Which ones do I go with? You know.
If you were contemplating Predator, I might say, well, you have to bump Predator on the list to put Alien on there because the original
first one
Alien movie is a horror movie set in space, and it's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, but Alien is in the decade of the '70s because it came out in 1979.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. So, but also in the '70s there were some other Italian-influenced Gallo-type movies like Suspiria and the girl with the girl with the crystal plumage.
Blind Dead.
Oh my God, The Blind Dead isn't Gallo; it's something totally different. But yeah, The Blind Dead, total sexploitation film.
Oh, they are terrible. And I watched all 4 of them.
Have any of you guys watched this 1974 horror movie called It's Alive?
Yeah.
Don't know.
The premise is these mutant babies. Women are giving birth to these mutant babies that got these giant claws, big heads, and they basically they might be mankind's next step in evolution. And it works off this whole fear of giving birth pregnancy angle.
Jeez.
Then there's more of the psychological thing of the little girl who lived down the lane with Jodie Foster.
Mm-hmm.
That's from the '70s. But no, the '80s was, just peppered with really fun horror movies. And then we have, let's go into the '90s. We've got Tremors, Dead Alive. Then you got movies like Lake Placid, Arachnophobia. There's Misery.
Oh, Misery.
Yeah.
Is Cape Fear one of those?
No, I didn't put down Cape Fear as a horror movie, but it really shaped the horror movie.
That role, right?
Definitely a thriller, but
yeah, it's a thriller. Okay, never mind. It's a thriller.
What Stephen King stuff do you have on your list?
Let's see.
I mean, is it on there or?
You said you had The Shining on the list.
I had The Shining on the list. I didn't put It on the list because it was a TV movie, and I'm kind of shying away from TV movies.
Salem's Lot? Oh, that's
TV as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And as far as vampire movies go, from what I'm told, it wasn't very good.
But it was a scary TV series. But I would put that in a different category. Now you have something that's more popish, The Craft, with a bunch of girls becoming witches.
I hadn't heard anything good about that one.
What's the Stephen King film with the cat?
Cat's Eye.
It's what?
Cat's Eye.
That's an anthology, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 3-story anthology.
Yeah.
And it's playing this Friday at the Blue Mouse Theater in Tacoma, Washington at 10 o'clock.
Oh, I'm
As
jealous.
part of your poster series?
Yeah, I'm not doing the poster for it. One of the guys who usually comes to this, Russ Richards, he's doing the poster. No, he's not doing the poster for this one. A guy named Travis Bundy is doing the poster this time.
I mean, if you're talking about anthology, Creep Show is one of that, you know.
Oh, anthologies, Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, Tales from the Crypt. That's it. I thought it was Creep Show.
Creep Show was the one that came out. Tales from the Crypt came out in the 70s.
That's right.
Where they started using the Crypt Keeper.
That's right.
And then Creep Show came out.
I didn't know Tales from the Crypt was that early. I always thought it was cashing in on the HBO show.
No, that's where the HBO show came from. You're thinking of Tales Up from the Dark Side.
Yeah. There's Tale from the Crypt, I remember in the 80s, where I had to actually go to the 7-Eleven and pick up these 3D glasses.
I remember reading the comic and being terrified by the crate and being afraid to put my hand in a box for staff.
So here's a list of movies I put together from about 2000 and 2010. Battle Royale. Have you guys seen this?
The original Japanese one?
The original Japanese one.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Slither. The Orphanage.
Oh, that's a good one.
Now here's I put on Wreck. I purposely left off the Blair Witch Project because I hate found footage films, but I think Wreck does an okay job of it. Oh, here's a comedy horror, Shaun of the Dead.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
That's a winner.
Then we've got Final Destination.
Oh, really? I was about to suggest it, but I was like, nah, that's not going to be on his list.
Well, it did something that no other horror movie did. The whole, the formula for the movie was never done before. Then you have Jeepers Creepers. And possibly one of the hardest movies I've ever had to stomach. A thing called Martyrs. Not for the faint of heart. A hilarious werewolf movie called Ginger Snaps.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty good.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Then you have,
So,
go ahead.
So, Mark, you're in the aughts. Is that what you're doing?
I'm doing from 2000 to late 2009.
I hope you have The Devil's Backbone in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I forgot The Devil's Backbone.
That's
Okay,
right.
gotta add that.
Some of these guys, you could just be making up names, and like the other person could just agree. Like Devil's Backbone, I've never heard, but everybody's like, "Oh yeah, you got to put that."
You haven't seen The Devil's Backbone. You have some homework to do. This is one of Del Toro's movies, along with a movie called The Orphanage. And both of them are wonderful horror movies.
And they make for a good back-to-back features because they're both part of his series of movies that take place during the Spanish Civil War.
Then we have, oh man, they got all these movies with numbers in them, like 28 Days Later and 30 Days of Night. And 1408, which is a Stephen King movie.
Oh, that's the haunted hotel room thing, right?
That's the haunted hotel room.
Yeah. I'm surprised that wasn't well received. Do you think that's on your list?
When I watched it, it scared the crap out of me.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
One of the categories. Plus, it did a lot better at the movie theaters than you would think.
All right. Yeah, I like the short story better.
Bubba Hotep.
Oh no!
Oh, that's a great horror comedy.
I love that one. Bruce Campbell, man, can't go wrong with the man with the chin.
Now, another one is a Korean movie called The Host.
Yes, that was a great one.
I mean, there was some comedic elements to it, but for the most part, it was a straight up scary as hell movie.
There's a couple new ones from Korea. I think it's called The Train to...
Oh, the Train to Busan.
Yeah, I love that one.
They're doing a sequel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're working on a sequel right now. Then there's a... I'm trying to remember. Does anyone remember a movie called The Lady in White? I know that you've all probably heard of The Lady in Black, but have you heard of The Lady in White?
I know of it. Is that the Hammer one?
No, The Lady in Black is the Hammer one. Then, back in the...
Oh, wait a minute. Was that the Disney one? Where it was a ghost that they're trying to bring back?
Well, there was a ghost involved.
I remember a Disney film back in the 80s where everybody was amazed that Disney was doing something that scary.
Now, in the aughts, 2010, you guys got to help me out here, because we have Cabin in the Woods. What was a movie that you saw in 2010 that you thought was really scary?
Jeez. You know, I generally avoid horror.
An Inconvenient Truth?
Inconvenient Truth.
Oh, thank you, Bill.
You know, I keep on thinking Event Horizon, but I mean that's not 2010, but that was like a movie that scared me. But I don't know. I just keep on thinking the films that no, that's not going to go on your list because you guys are way more into horror than I am.
Well, I'm kind of curious to see what movies you come up with. Because I'm putting everything on the list right now, and then what I'll do is I'll trim it down.
Black Swan was a horror film? I never saw Black Swan.
Technically, yes.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen Black Swan either.
I did.
I'm on the Wikipedia page, by the way, so don't get nervous how well I know this.
You're on the Wikipedia page for horror movies?
Yeah. List of horror films of 2010. Okay, Frozen was not a horror film. What is this all about?
Frozen.
That's just wrong.
There was this, I don't know if it's from 2010. It might be a movie called Dumplings. It was a Korean horror film.
Oh, wasn't that in... Didn't they have that showing before in the right before Incredibles 2?
No. Oh, my God. That is not the same at all.
But scary dumplings, creepy dumplings are involved.
Wow, there was a Puppet Master during 2010.
Oh, I'm not. Okay. I am boycotting all of Full Moon's movies. Because,
Oh, how about Saw? I haven't seen it, but...
No, Saw isn't on here. And I haven't added in Scanners, which I think
Here's a good one. Rubber.
Rubber.
That was the one with the tire.
I'm not sure if I'd call it... I like Rubber, but I'm not sure if I'd call it horror.
Are you kidding? It's killing people. a tyrant going out of its way to kill people with its mind. What could be more horrific than
It was great.
There was another film that I didn't watch, but is it called like Mother or something? I think it's supposed to be.
that's within the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet. I did watch what's a good horror movie I saw the other day?
Wow, there was a Final Destination 5 on 2011. That's kind of crazy. I didn't realize there was that many.
I've watched Final Destination 1, 2, and 3. I haven't seen number 4 yet.
I just like this title. I Was a Teenage Werebear.
I have not heard of that one.
Oh, there's some really bad ones that aren't even worth watching, like Little Dead Riding Hood.
Oh,
Which is a sort of like a combination of zombie werewolf movie.
Oh, I remember this. The Watchers in the Wood. The Disney film.
That's the one I was getting mixed up with Lady in White.
Okay.
so Cabin in the Woods was 2012. So I guess that's at least one notch on the
Yeah.
list.
And I have yet to see Saw. So I suppose
I'm sorry. I know that was unintentional, but
no, you go straight from, I immediately thought, okay, Wood, Saw. Now I Married an Axe Murderer. Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
Yeah.
Michael
I Married an Axe Murderer's comedy. It's a great
If
film.
you
Though.
want my father and you think I'm sexy, why
that was the one with Mike Myers, starring Mike Myers, wasn't it?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I was getting it mixed up with Serial Mom.
Oh, Serial Mom. That's another great horror comedy. Let's see. When did The Descent come out? Was that in 2000? Yeah, that was 2005.
Yeah.
What's the one with the time lapse photography of the ghost rate on security cameras?
Those are Paranormal Activities or something, wasn't it?
I haven't seen
a few of them.
Paranormal series. Yeah.
I think I've only ever seen parodies of it. So
now I've watched the ABCs of Death 1, 2, and I think the third version.
Okay, just off of first gut reaction, how scary does this title kind of hit you? Feng Shui 2. It's a sequel.
I suppose you have to say it with a scary voice. Feng Shui.
I guess it depends just how your desk is positioned.
Jeez. Okay, here we go. Zombievers.
I have seen Zombievers, and it's right up there with Zombie Strippers.
Oh, jeez.
Do I even want to know about zombie strippers?
Actually, no, Bill, you don't. You probably would enjoy Boy Scout's Guide to the Zombie, a Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny comedy horror.
There's another one that's I think it's produced by I'm trying to remember his name. The guy that was in The Hobbit, not The Hobbit, the Lord of the Ring.
Peter Jackson.
Elijah Woods.
I know the one. It's called Cooties.
Cooties, that's right.
Cooties was hilarious. The basic premise was that little kids get infected from bad chicken nuggets.
What?
and they become zombies.
All right, you guys are just making up stuff now.
No, it's hilarious. It also has the guy from The Office in it. What's his name?
Michael Gervais.
The guy with the glasses?
Oh, I don't know his name. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the original Office.
So I remember seeing like previews for this movie, but I never went to see it. Krampus. It's like a Christmas horror.
Actually, Krampus is pretty good. It's on my. I have an entire list on Letterboxd of inappropriate Christmas movies. And that's how this started with my niece. She loved that list and was working her way through it during the holidays.
You know what inspires you to sit down and like, you know, what needs to happen is a list of inappropriate Christmas movies.
Well, my niece calls me up and she says, "Mark, I want to watch some Christmas movies that are inappropriate. You told me about this one. How many others are there?" And I thought, "Oh my God, child, let me show you the way." And I started playing with it. Then I sent her the
use, Mark.
I watched a horror movie just a few days ago that I thought was actually pretty good. And it's called Mom and Dad.
Oh yeah, Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Just came out. I think it's now on DVD because it didn't last long in the theater because I think it hit too many buttons. The premise is some sort of virus or infection or electronic brainwashing slowly spreads across the world, in which parents have an unrelenting desire to kill their children.
Yeah.
The whole little switch of they love them to death and would do anything to protect or save their children, that gets completely reversed.
So like, what is it? Munchausen syndrome by proxy, only much worse.
Yeah, they just go. And so it brings, what makes it a really good horror movie is that it brings up these ethical questions of, if more than half the population has committed murder, and an atrocious murder at that, what do you do with that part of the population? Do you just say, "Oh, forgive and forget," or? But it's about this family, and of course, I don't want to give it away, but it's, oh my God, it does a pretty good job. I was pretty pleased with it.
For a Nicolas Cage movie too.
Did you say an ape movie?
No, for a Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh, yes. It also has Lance Henriksen in it. I'm a big Lance Henriksen fan.
That could be a whole separate list of horror movies.
For Lance Henrik fans, or
All just horror movies with Lance Henriksen in it.
oh yeah,
Could be like a whole list.
let's see. We've got Pumpkinhead.
Oh, that was a great movie.
Let's see. He was a mad scientist with a movie with this robotic dog that was like this Saint Bernard or something. I'm trying to remember what the name of that movie was.
It's funny. It's just reminded how the reason why Cujo always scared the shit out of me. But mainly because the neighborhood my folks lived in summer in Maine, one of our neighbors had this St. Bernard Newfoundland mix named Luke, and it did not take much imagination to picture Luke in Cujo's position.
Real friendly dog was Luke then.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember this movie about this murderer who would only kill blind women, and it had Lance Henriksen in it.
Jennifer 8.
Oh, very good. I am so impressed.
Oh, I love that movie.
Let's see. How many of the Alien films was he in? He was in Aliens 2, Aliens 3. He was also in Aliens versus Predator. Let's see. He was in Mimic 4. No, Mimic 3, pardon me, not Mimic 4. He was in this one movie. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was done by the same production house that did the prequel to The Thing, but they do all practical special effects. And it's the name of a boat, and they did these great special effects, and he was in. I can't remember it now. Oh, he was in Near Dark. How many of you guys saw that one?
Oh,
Yeah, that was a good one. That was with I remember the guy that in Aliens, like, hey man, we gotta get out of here, man.
Yeah, the same. He was.
Oh, game over, man.
Yeah, game over, man. But yeah,
Bill Paxton?
Yeah,
Bill Paxton.
Bill
Thank you.
Paxton. Yes.
And you guys must just like kill on 6 Degrees from Kevin Bacon. Just like, is there like a championship out there that you can like medal in or something? Or?
Yeah. $2 Tuesday was growing up. $2 Tuesday. Summertime. And yeah.
Why is this?
All right, folks, I think I'm taking off a minute or two early.
Yeah, me too.
Have a nice rest of your week. Hopefully I'll be back next week.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care. See ya.
Has anyone here been sitting in on the Graphic Artists Guild webinars lately?
Depends on the topic, but occasionally.
Yeah, I think I was in the last one.
Well, I meant the group chat.
Oh, they haven't had those in a while.
I keep forgetting.
They haven't had a group chat in a while, really?
Yeah, they got canceled because there wasn't enough attendance, and they're trying to retool it and you know, kind of make it into something that will get more people involved.
Ah.
But right now, all they're doing is the Twitter chats. That's still going on.
Yeah, I tried to be involved with that one time. It just didn't grab me very much.
I thought they were just doing it for the for Unique's group.
No, I think it is national. I think she's taken over the monthly chat too. I'm curious to see how that turns out. They asked me for some, you know, opinions, and I kind of threw everything against them. It's like, yeah, you can try this, you can do this, you can do that. But I mean, the problem is finding somebody who can really dedicate the time to me. So.
Yeah, because unless you have like a core person behind it.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me for yet another fun episode of Epic Sketch Time. I'm going to do the sign off.
All right.
And then I'll say goodbye to everybody just a moment.
Have a good one.
You've been watching another episode of Epic Sketch Time. If you'd like to join us, please go to the link down below in the doobly-doo and sign up to our email list. We'll send you out an email letting you know when the next meeting is. Typically, we're doing them on Wednesdays at 4:30 Pacific time. And we'll send you a notification a couple days ahead. And we'll also use that same email to send you an invite a few minutes ahead of time. You can also invite your friends, ask them to join the list. And as you can see, we have a lot of fun. We discuss the right way to pronounce Thanos and other interesting cultural topics. It's nice seeing you again, Eric. Patrick, talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Locke.